Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 3, Episode 5 of The Flash, titled Monster. Before I go any further, I just want to say there will be spoilers in this review. The title of this episode really does not bury the lead on this one. The episode does really revolve around a monster, but it mostly revolves around Caitlin Snow. At least for me, that is the highlight of the episode. We get to see that Caitlin is becoming more afraid of her powers, and now she needs to seek help elsewhere because she doesn't want to tell her friends at Star Labs. So she goes and sees her mother, someone that we haven't actually seen, we've only heard of. And what we learn in this episode is that the more that Caitlin uses her powers, the harder it will be for her to reverse them or to get rid of them. And what we are also seeing is that she's becoming more and more corrupted by these powers. She's becoming more cold as a human being because of these cold powers. And with this coldness comes a lot of uncontrollability and a lot of unpredictability in terms of her actions. She is showing signs of the Killer Frost we saw on Earth 2 from last season, someone who is very evil, very distant, very angry, someone who is the complete opposite of the Caitlin Snow that we know. I know specifically that episode 7 is called Killer Frost, so could that be when we see her in her full Killer Frost mode? And if so, how is Barry, Cisco, Joe, Iris, Wally going to react to this? I personally still think that she should tell her friends about this. I think that she should be actively working on this issue at Star Labs because this is going to be kind of a big thing because Caitlin has never been really this emotional type character. She's always been very introverted when it comes to a lot of her emotions, and she's gone through a lot as a character over the first 2 seasons. Whether it was losing her husband Robbie twice, or whether it was being duped by the fake Jay Garrick / Zoom from last season, she's going through a lot of stuff that she keeps bottled up inside, and this is going to kind of bring a lot of that emotion out for her. Other than that, it was kind of a rather average episode of The Flash for me personally. The main villain was kind of a joke in the end, in the sense that this quote-unquote monster was just a hologram, a projection of kind of the inner workings and mentality of a bullied teenager, which is a very interesting and timely theme concerning what goes on in the real world now regarding bullying of young kids. But they didn't really use the episode to explore that emotion or that theme in any significant way. It was kind of just tacked on as a reason why this monster was walking around creating all kinds of havoc. But what we did get in the episode was a lot of kind of relationship building between Barry and Tom Felton's character, Julian, who still doesn't seem to like him, and Barry doesn't seem to like him either. It was very interesting to see Barry try to bridge that gap when it comes to the animosity between them, because Barry genuinely seems like a person who he wants everyone to like him, and so when there is someone who doesn't like him, he tries to do everything he possibly can to remedy that. And I'm not quite sure what Julian's issues are still. We did get a little bit more of his backstory in this episode, which was very interesting to see, that he comes from a very rich, very wealthy, very kind of proper family in England, and he is very much the black sheep of the family, which is a very interesting theme that we're going with, because he, I guess, feels like an outsider when it comes to his family, and he's also kind of dealing with other outsiders, I guess, when it comes to society, when he's dealing with metahumans. And what is interesting is that he doesn't have this tragic backstory or this tragic origin story where a metahuman attacked him or attacked someone he loved or something like that. He's just doing it because he genuinely wants to kind of help out the world. But I still have my skepticism when it comes to him, because as we saw last year with Zoom, you never know who is lying and who is telling the truth. Also, he is brand new in the sense that we don't know what he was doing before Flashpoint. We don't know what his alternate version was, or even if he existed in the pre-Flashpoint timeline. So it's going to be interesting to see his character be further explored later on. There are a lot of rumors online that suggest that he may be Alchemy, and after last season with Zoom, like I was just saying, that would be too easy a thing to work into the show. That would be, you cannot just do the same thing twice when it comes to a writing standpoint. That's just really lazy writing. Speaking of lazy/bad writing, there was a moment in this episode that had to have been one of the most contrived/badly written moments of an episode I've seen on The Flash in some time. When Caitlin is at her mother's lab and she's doing all this kind of testing, so they're finding out what's wrong with her and all this kind of stuff, the lab assistant that's there, or her mother's assistant, was this really contrively written character who all of a sudden, out of nowhere, decides upon himself that he's going to hold Caitlin Snow captive. After seeing what she is capable of, why would you do that at all? You've seen what she can do when it comes to her powers. You are actively testing them. You know these things. Why would you do this? It was really poorly written, really contrived. It was literally just there to show that Caitlin is slowly drifting toward this villainous mentality, but they could have done something a little bit better than that. Another big thing in the episode is we got to see our first taste of the new Harrison Wells from Earth-19, who likes to be called HR. So HR, we come to learn, is not really as scientific as we thought he was. He seems to be more of an ideas man instead of an actual applicable science type realm, which is going to be interesting going forward. I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to stick around to become a viable and active member of Team Flash, because the whole point of having a new Harrison Wells was to replace the function of the other Harrison Wells, who was a very hands-on scientific person. So having this guy who's just seemingly taking notes for a book he wants to write is not really going to fit at all with the rest of the team. He's got to have to contribute in some type of positive way. And also, like I said when it comes to Julian's character, there may be more to him than meets the eye. I'm still not convinced that he's only here to write a book. Like I said earlier, kind of an average episode of The Flash. The highlight for me was Caitlin Snow and the further progression when it comes to her Killer Frost powers. But like I said, the villain was super weak, as well as the other aspects of the episode with HR. So overall, not the best episode. Probably the weakest of the 5 episodes of the season so far for me. With all that being said, this has been my review of Season 3, Episode 5 of The Flash, titled Monster. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other comic book related television series.